not Radcliffe Rambles anymore, it's Radcliffe Roundup. So welcome. And
thanks very much, John.
My name, John Reddin, Headmaster at Ratcliffe College. I'm delighted to be in our recording studio for this edition of the podcast, and I'm delighted to be sitting with a good friend of mine, Sam Pitt from Pitt UK, one of our international recruitment agents. So Sam, welcome to Ratcliffe.
Thank you very much, John. It's really nice to be here.
It's lovely to have you here, and it doesn't seem that long ago since I visited you in Santiago. And today's been a very special day because, of course, you've come back to Radcliffe and you've met with all those lovely students that you've brought across.
It was so nice. In fact, I was struggling to keep up with the number of students that actually sent this semester. But, but for me, just working with a school that I know, I feel as if I'm getting to know better and better. And I know that there are many, UK boarding schools. But I do remember the first time I met you, which was, I think, during the pandemic, wasn't it? Where we had that online
meeting,
online BBSM meeting.
Yeah.
And I remember you said at the end of that conversation, I feel very excited about this, and I came away feeling the same way. So, and really since then, I just feel as if our relationship has grown and grown.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think it's always the same when you click with somebody, and you think, oh, there's a kindred spirit there.
Yeah,
we're going to get on well, and we have done. The future's bright, I think, for both our organisations, particularly with bringing Chilean students across. And I think it's worth saying that how impressed we've been with the families that you've introduced us to, and especially the children. I know our boarding community is, has hugely enriched by their presence. And I think, I said to you earlier in the day, they've settled in so quickly and seem to be as if they've been here for some time now, made friends, got involved with the co-curricular activities and so forth. And they really look like they are grasping the opportunity with both hands, both in the classroom and out. So we're delighted. Absolutely.
Well, that's really good because I mean, as an agent, for me, I mean, it's a tricky one because we as an agent obviously want to send as many Chileans as possible, but I think it's important for the school and for us as an agency to send the right profile of student.
Absolutely.
And I think one thing which I've learned over the last 2 or 3 years, however long we've been working together, is that it's important to really pitch the school, and make sure that the school is the right fit for the parents and for the child that's coming,
I think that's right, isn't it? Because you want them to feel, the parents to feel reassured. That's an element of trust that we've talked about so often. The children it's a 16-hour flight from Santiago.
Yeah.
It's a long way, and it's a real adventure for them. They're excited, but when they arrive, I think it's that warmth of welcome in those first few hours and days that really make the difference, that they know that they're going to be fine. That first phone call home with parents, we've arrived, it's great, we've got lovely people, and all of that. So I suppose for our listeners, it would be nice just to hear a little bit from you in terms of how you got into the role that you're in, your journey into international recruitment. How did it all start? Where did it all start?
Well, I mean, it really started actually going back all the way back to 2004 when my wife and I, we obviously got married and we went to Chile on our honeymoon. My wife was actually raised in Africa. She's quite international. And obviously you've met Catherine.
I have.
So we met and I was, 100% English, and Catherine is English, but she has more of an international kind of outlook to, if you like. She's lived in Spain for a long time. She was raised in South Africa. She came to boarding school here in the UK. And so anyway, going back. So when we got married, I actually said to her, I said, well, I want to go to Africa. I want to do a safari for our honeymoon.
Why
She
not?
said, well, no. The thing is that I've been on lots of safaris because I was, raised in Africa, and we can go back there anytime. Why don't we go to Chile? Why don't we go to Chile? At that time, my wife was she had a house. She was renting out rooms, and she rented out a number of rooms to Chilean tenants, and that's where the Chilean connection was made. So when a good friend of hers, a girl called Isabel Cuevas, came back to Chile, Catherine obviously stayed in touch with her, and every Christmas they would phone each other, "Where are you?" "Oh, I'm here in England, it's raining, it's really cold." "Where are you?" "I'm on the beach in Zapallau, it's a beautiful coastal resort." And so anyway, we decided to go there, and we were invited.
Yeah.
And that's where the Chilean connection was made.
Amazing.
So funnily enough, we came back to the UK having had, really an unbelievable time. We were there for 1 month, but we met a lot of really interesting people.
Yeah.
And thinking, well, what an interesting place to raise a family, But it was a kind of long-term project, And we thought, well, if it works out, works out. And fast forward to 2008, 2009, when the financial crisis hit. By that time, we had 3 young kids, and the company I was working for went bust. And suddenly, just the cards fell into place.
Yeah.
And
the idea crystallised at that time.
The idea crystallised, and I was in touch with a Chilean friend of mine in Oxford, where we were living, and he said, "Well, I can try and pull a few strings. You can come to Chile. Why don't you just come and work as an English language teacher?" And so we bit the bullet. That's what we did. We literally just, I came along, had some interviews in schools. I was given a contract by Colegio Cordillera, which is where now we're sending children. It's incredible. We're sending children from that school to England, to Radcliffe now. Yeah. And it was just meant to be. So I worked in a couple of schools there, and then I started the institute, Pitt English, obviously. And then on the strength of that, we got families approaching us saying, "I want to send my son to the UK, I want to send my daughter to the UK. Is that something you do?" And it wasn't. At that time, it wasn't, But then later on, I met Suzanne Rouse, because we were trying to get our daughter actually into a boarding school. And we were put in touch with Suzanne Rouse. This is in 2021, who then obviously opened the doors to all of these, to yourselves, and to all these opportunities.
Yeah, she's been a great contact.
Great contact. Suzanne, wonderful.
So it might be interesting as well, I suppose, for those listening in, what's the difference between the Chilean education system and the UK, and what's, if you can describe, what's the best ages for the children to come across? Because we've got some children who have joined us in year 10 and some in year 12. So how does it work? Because obviously other side of the world, so a different hemisphere. So your summer is our winter and vice versa. So how does it all work?
I think there are 2 main ways, 2 main distinctive features, if you like, that differentiates Chilean education from British education. I think the first one are the class sizes. The class sizes. In Chile, class sizes are big. Private school education is not so common. Really, it's only top 2-3% of the country can afford a private education.
Of course.
So that's definitely one difference. I think the second difference is the style of the classes. I think the feedback I've got from Chilean students that have come here is that you learn by doing. You learn by practical experiments, trial and error.
So it's the methodology that is quite different.
And in Chile, it's a lot more theoretical, And so just going back to the class sizes, for example, all the children that have come here to Radcliffe have said, "I've got 7, 8, 9 people in a class," so you really get that personalised education, and that is really a huge difference.
That's really interesting, isn't it?
The number of clubs. There are lots and lots of things. The number of co-curricular activities. Here you've got 80, 90, 100 clubs which people can join. That doesn't exist in Chile.
No, it's a very different way of blending the education within the classroom and beyond it, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I suppose in Chile, Chilean students in Santiago, they have to go out to clubs in the city.
That's exactly it.
and travel to places.
That's exactly it.
Which is very different to here, because it's a bit of a one-stop shop at Ratcliffe.
And to have everything under one roof as well.
Yeah. And how common is the concept of boarding in Chile? Is that something that is synonymous with private schools, as you said, or is it less common?
No, the whole concept of boarding. I mean, I think in a few more of the British schools, schools like the Grange and Craig House, who a lot of the families there have some experience of boarding. Many don't. Okay. So really, going back, what we're starting to find now is, because we've sent a number of students here who have experienced boarding, the boarding community and boarding life, the concept of boarding, if you like, is more recognised. It's more understood, if you like.
Yeah.
But going back in 2021, 2022, it really was a case of educating families, explaining to them that, your child's going to be safe, everything's under one roof, they've got medical centres, they're living with a boarding community, they're going to meet lots of children from many different countries, And
it's that, I suppose it's also, I remember talking to parents in Santiago about the lifestyle of a boarder, if we use that expression, the trips, the activities, which are part and parcel of boarding life. So at weekends, they might be playing sport for the college. They have a trip down to Thermiston to pick up, some extra tuck and things like this.
That's right.
And then back, the different timings of the meals over the weekend. Of course, with a lot of Chilean families being Catholic, we have chapels and mass on Sunday mornings. And then a big trip on the Sunday afternoon, which seems to have gone down really well, actually. I don't know whether they mentioned that we went to the escape rooms at the weekend.
They were talking about it at lunchtime.
They really
loved it.
They really did. And it's not something that they had come across in Santiago. So it's things like that allow them to immerse themselves in British culture, inverted commas, which I think, alongside the language development, I mean, most of the Chilean students that you have sent to us, their English has been pretty good, actually.
Not bad,
but by the time they leave us, it's really refined, and they've worked really hard at it, and that's something that is a very easy measure for us, and I think for you and their families, that they go back fluent with a vast vocabulary and feeling very confident about their English and the quality of their English.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, going back to what we were talking about earlier, is that the quality of the student. And I think if a student comes here with the right mentality,
absolutely,
of a can-do attitude, fully, determined to kind of throw himself into the whole thing of boarding life, the boarding community, then you're onto a winner, and the student is onto a winner.
And I think earlier in the day we were reflecting, weren't we, on the number of students that you've sent us, and we were thinking it's probably around 12 to 15, and perhaps one of the first students that came was Raimundo.
That's right, yeah.
And again, for our listeners, that when I went to Santiago last year and met prospective families, it was so lovely that Raimundo and his parents actually sought out to come and see me with you.
I know.
I was really touched by that his experience at Ratcliffe had been so profound for him, that experience, although for a relatively short time, just a term, had really been something that had touched him in a particular way. And, he came and that real genuine thanks and warmth of, I love my time at Ratcliffe. I love my time there, and I really appreciated all the experiences that I had, but also some great stories about his time, the friends he'd made, the antics they got up to, the experiences that he'd had. And I think, even though our relationship is still in its early years, if you like, someone like Raimundo just reminds us that you don't have to be in a place that long to develop a deep affinity with it.
Exactly.
And he sees it as his school.
Well, you've got that in that lovely story, that little anecdote of, how many schools have you been to? You asked him. Yeah. Or his parents asked, I can't quite remember. And they said, well, no, just the two. He went to Winganal in
And
Santiago.
he's been to Ratcliffe.
And he included Ratcliffe in one of his schools, which
was remarkable.
really touching, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
You
so.
know.
So we've been blessed. So how would you, I suppose, looking at the practicalities of what you and I do together, if I'm having my trip out to Santiago, I'll be coming in April next year. How do you go about identifying families that might be interested in investing in an experience in UK boarding? How does that come about?
Well, I mean, I think that, I'm a marketer by trade, and I think that the skills I've learned over the years, it's about developing relationships. It's about developing contact, developing relationships. So something like a boarding school, or something like, selling and recommending Ratcliffe as a destination to families, really is a fine balance between pitching it and explaining it, if you like, So, I mean, really, we've been very lucky because a lot of the repeat business that we've had has come through referrals.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Siblings as well.
absolutely, exactly, And so the experience, I mean, it's really made my job very, very easy, because the experience that they've had here, has been so strong and so positive that they're just eager to go and tell their friends, their contacts, even their, friends within.
And that's really heartwarming to hear, because I know my boarding staff, but also the subject teachers, they put a real emphasis on making sure that the students from, in your case, the Chilean students, but any of the students on the immersion programs really feel part of the school very quickly. And also that they make progress in their studies, which I think for the parents as well, it's not just the experience, it's not just the language development, but it's also making sure that their education is still progressing, because of course when they go back to their own schools, they've got to then hit the ground running. There is an expectation from their schools that if they're going to have this experience,
that's right,
they've got to maintain a good grade average, they've got to keep up with their work.
100%. And I think that I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to some of the children at lunchtime, actually, and some of the Year 10 girls were saying that they were really enjoying mathematics as a class, because they'd covered some of that content already in Chile.
Because the math seems very strong in Chile.
It's very strong. See, you have a lot of architects, you have a lot of engineers, you have a lot of business students, mathematicians, financial services.
Yes, of course.
That's big. But I think what's really great is that I think it aids learning. If you're already familiar with the content, but you're learning it in a different language,
It's that
also,
confidence, isn't it?
It just gives you that added confidence, I think.
Right.
Whereas learning new content in a completely different language. Do you see what I mean?
I do.
So I think that's also a great benefit.
And obviously Ratcliffe is a Catholic school, and many of the Chilean families, that's an important aspect of the offer here. It's been lovely to see the way in which the students, the Chilean students, have interacted with night prayer through boarding, the Sunday Mass. They've been reading and joining in with the offertory and things like this. It's been really lovely and very natural to them. How important do you think that aspect of our offer is, perhaps, to prospective families?
I mean, we have a group of schools. It comes under the umbrella group of SEDUC, which covers a group of private schools which are run in the spirit of Opus Dei, of St. Josemaria.
That's right, I remember you telling me.
And so for families of that profile, I think Ratcliffe is a very, very good fit, because I know you were founded by the Rosminians, weren't you? The Rosminian brothers, But I think with that Catholic ethos, and what parents want, what the Chilean parents want, is, one, their children to have that ability to go to Mass on a Sunday, as a minimum, And if they can be offered other Catholic sacraments and, things like that, everything that comes with the Catholic faith, that's very attractive for them, because they almost want a continuation of.
And that's that's lovely to hear, because I think, we're very proud of our Catholic Rosminian heritage.
Yeah.
And it's so lovely. It was lovely for me when I went to Santiago. It was that was an easy in with families. A number
Absolutely.
of them mentioned it immediately. How often do they have mass? What's the routine for prayer? And it's clear that it's an important aspect of their lives. And just talking to some of the children the other day, their experience is, for some, they mentioned they go to mass often at home, not just weekly, but during the week as well.
That's right.
Daily mass offered at school, similar to
That's
here.
right.
So it's been really interesting to learn
absolutely.
about their routines. So, and then the future. We've been talking about the future, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And trying to develop our partnership and our friendship further. And we've got some really good ideas with the immersion, and we're really excited about coming out to your fair.
Yeah, I'm really excited
in
about
April.
that.
Do you want to just maybe give that a plug while we're on?
Yeah, okay. So listen, so I'm inviting 10 private schools, including yourselves.
Yeah.
And we're hosting a fair next April 2026 in a beautiful kind of country club, just on the edge of Santiago, just in the Cordillera, just below the Andes.
Beautiful.
Really, really beautiful setting with natural footfall. And we're hoping to invite schools governors, school heads, in Chile, obviously.
Yes.
Together with a bunch of families. And it's really just an opportunity for the Chilean community to be, to be more aware of Radcliffe's offering,
absolutely,
and what's out there, and what boarding school and boarding school life
a
can
great
offer.
Opportunity for all the schools that you've invited to make partnerships and friendships and network, not just together but also with the Chilean schools, because it's not just about bringing potential boarders or immersion students. It's also learning about one another's educational systems and actually seeing where we can do some partnership work together.
Exactly that.
With technology being so advanced now, and the ability to jump online and have conversations, or even teach online, as we know, that's something during COVID which became second nature to us.
But not easy.
Yeah, but I think it opens up an interesting dynamic for schools across the world to do some quite cool stuff together.
Definitely.
You find some common ground, whether it's through language or a cultural interest, sport. And then getting a group of like-minded students together online who can then really develop an idea together, collaborate, clearly working, whether it's maybe some of our Spanish students working in Spanish, developing their language with Chilean schools, or whether it might be, English the other way around. So I think I'm very excited that there will, great to come and say, look, this is what Radcliffe's got to offer. But in addition to that, more broadly, it's that sharing of different educational philosophies, ideas, and hopefully, perhaps developing relationships with schools through the curriculum, which would be really quite a nice thing to do.
100%. 100%.
You mentioned the idea of perhaps, the teachers from Chile accompanying the next immersion group and staying and having an experience and learning a bit more about the way in which we deliver certain curricula, if they're a maths teacher, a chemistry teacher, whatever, and then taking those ideas back, and then potentially the opportunity for a member of staff to go out to Chile in the future. Who knows?
Absolutely.
And you're facilitating that, and I think that's wonderful.
I think you got to leave no stone left unturned, have you? I think there are always. I mean, listen, as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you know this too, is that some things don't work, some things work, some things don't work, but it's try it, does it work, pivot or not pivot, you know what I mean? And I think that us exploring all these opportunities just raises awareness.
I think it does. Well, look, Sam, you and I, as we know from sitting in a bar in Chile, we could have a pisco sour and chat for a while, but we'll probably draw things to a it's been lovely just to sit.
Really enjoyed it.
And to chat together. So thank you so much for making the time and an effort to come over to the UK to see your lovely students and to visit Radcliffe, and look forward to doing likewise next April, if not before.
Big pleasure, John. It's been really nice.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Not at all. Many thanks.
Thank you, John.